Hey, welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Let's continue with our validation class. So far, we can validate a few things. Just the required field is validatable. So let's do the email. Now, I just remembered that I may need the value. Let's see. Actually, there's data here, and then there's with the data you can get whatever value you want, so I think that's okay. All right, so let's do the email now. Here, if the email, for example, is empty, so by the way, I'm doing the validator class here inside the core folder just in case. So email is required if it's empty, so this is fine. But if it's not empty, we should do one more validation here. Let's see here. At this point, if it's empty, it's good enough to return from this. So we're just going to say return here. We can exit because we don't need to do any more validation if it's empty, right? So let me go further here. There's a function called FilterVar that comes with PHP. So you can use this to validate several things: URLs, emails, etc. So here I'm going to put the value of the email, and I should put a flag here because this function, you can Google what this function can do. It's there on php.net just to know what you can achieve with it. So there are flags to tell it what you're validating. So there's one called filter_validate. So there's validation, there's sanitizing using this function, but here we're just validating our email. Now as I type, if I get it correct, it should turn to italics like that, then I have it correct. So when you do this, it's going to return true or false if this is a valid email or not. So let me do this here. So if FilterVar like that, let's do the not like this. If not FilterVar like that, and then we return something like this. So we're going to say, instead of is required, we're going to say is not valid. Or we can just say invalid email. Let's say is not valid. Okay, something like that. Whatever the field name is not valid. What else can we do here? Validate regex. That's great. Then let's do min and max as well. So I'm going to duplicate these. Now with the regex here, the param is going to be the actual regex that we are dealing with. So in this one, we don't need to check whether it's empty or not because the regular expression can do that. So here we're going to say format is not valid, something like that. Because in this situation, we're looking at a format, a specific format with the regular expression. So somebody can put, so you can put a regular expression to describe the pattern that you want. So in this case, we're going to use the if statement and say something like preg match. So when you're matching here, you put a pattern here. So we're going to put two slashes like that to describe the outermost part of the regular expression, and then just put the param inside there. And then our subject is the data. So I'm just going to copy that and put it here. Great. So if this does not match whatever params we've added, we're going to say format is not valid as a what is that? As an error. Sorry. All right. So now you could improve this thing. Let me say let's go to the signup.php. Now at this point we are having the username is equal to, and then we have this part here. Now you could improve this further if you want to rename whatever username is instead of using that, because this text is used in the error itself, right? It'll be like email is not valid or username is not valid, etc., etc. Now if you want, you could add an extra array here where these are the rules, but then you have another value, like for example user friendly name, and then we can grab that in the validator here, and instead of having to use this, we can use that user friendly name instead to do things. Okay, so I don't know, let me know in the comments if you want to do that. Then maybe we can see how we change the code to accommodate that, because for example this is the name for the username input, right? But maybe I don't want to show this to the user. I want to show them something like user name, something like that, right? With a capital U and N. So you let me know, guys, if you want us to go that direction, then we can do it. All right, so let's continue here. This one is regex, that's done. And then there's min and max. So similar situation here. Instead of looking at emptiness, we're looking at the string length. So here we're going to say string len, like that. And then so this is going to count how many strings are in this value. Excuse me, how many characters are in this value. And if it's less than, this is min, so the minimum, we're saying the minimum should be this. So if it's less than the param, like that, then we're going to say how do you write this error? You can say something like length, let's see, must be at least param characters long. Okay, so that's for minimum, right? Let's do for maximum. Very similar stuff. So let's gonna do max like that. And then we're gonna say string length, param here should be greater. Oh wait, am I making a mistake here? If we say max 8 characters, right? Yes, if it's greater than the param, must that field must be at least, must not exceed, oopsie daisy. Okay, whatever characters that is, characters, we don't need the long to make a sentence there. All right, that's great. So min, max, regex, email, required, what other things? Date, for example, because on our homepage here, on our sign up page, we do have date, and then we have where we need to match the passwords here. So we need to figure that out as well. So I'm going to go and duplicate that. For this one, we have, what's the one I was looking for? Date. Yes, of course. So in this situation, in order to figure out if a date string is valid, you can convert it to time. You can use the function string to time like that. Okay. String to time. There will be no param in this case. So if string to time, right? I don't know actually what this brings up. So what I'm going to do instead is, let me go to the sign up page here. Let me do an experiment. So I'm going to do a date. For example, I'm going to say string to time because I really don't know what values it can give me. So let me try a today's date, which is the 5th, I think. Not sure. Yes. No, 11th, I think. So I'm going to do 11/05/2025. And let me do dd or var dump, because I also want to see what data type it returns, because if it returns a null, I just don't want to see an empty string. I want to see the data type as well. So on this page, I'm just going to refresh and resend. Let me see what happens there. So email is required, email is required. Why am I getting this twice? That's crazy. So I need to see why that is happening. However, this one is an int and it gives me a result. So which means that's actually a date, a valid date. But I know 41 is not a valid date. So let's see what we get when the date is invalid. Instead of an integer, what do we get? We get Boolean false. Okay, so which is good because we can use that in an if statement, true or false. So if that is not, so let's put a not there, an exclamation point, then we can say that field is not a valid date. Okay. Or you can say something like, please add valid date is not valid. Okay. Now you may not want to say date. I see. Let's do this. Now, like I said, we can add more to this. And let me go back here. We could actually do that here. Where we add more information. For example, we can even set the error messages here if we wanted to. So maybe we're going to do that. We're going to expand that so that you guys have more options to deal with, right? So we're going to edit that in a future video. Okay, so at this point we have date, we have, oh, let's do the matching one now. So this one should match. So the param in this case is the other field that should match whatever field we have here. So I'm going to say if something like this field, if it's not, we're only interested if it's not equal to, actually, excuse me here. It may be good to trim this, but maybe not. I don't know. Sometimes it's good to trim the spaces because you may get a false positive because there's a space at the end of one of these fields. So what I'm going to do is when we grab like, you know what, let me put value here. Let me do that because then I can edit it a little bit. So let's do param is here, and let me get where is this, rules, and then there's that rule, there's field here. Where is field coming from? Let me copy that. Okay, so what I'm really looking for is this data field. Copy that. And let me put it over here. So what I'm to do is say value is equal to that. And if it does not exist, let's put a null. But then we should also trim this. So how do I do this? Value is equal to trim value. Now, I don't know what trim would do if the value you're trying to trim is null. So let's do an experiment. We're going to do that just to see how it reacts. So refresh, just to be sure it doesn't show me an error or something like that. And there it does. Oh, wait. No, that's the wrong error. What is it saying? Validator 99. Okay, so that's something else. So it can still trim null values. So that's good. So in that situation, then we can rest easy that this will work. And then I want to put value over here. Value, comma. Okay. All right, great. So here on all these parts that are filled, I can just extend value. Just do another string and then say value and then comma. Okay, so I'm just adding one extra param here. All right, so here it says string, but actually, yeah, it will always be a string, so that's good. Then I can use that value inside here, which is great. So string to. So instead of doing this field like that all the time, I could just do value. That's much cleaner. So let me do the same over here. If value. So on this validate match, let me actually do this. Let's say value is not equal to this. And then instead of field, we're going to use param here. Okay, like that. Now, the reason we are matching this, let's say, for example, I said something like match. Let's see here, password. Okay, so password should match the other. So it's required, but then it should also match. Let's put a full colon here. There's the other one called password verify. That's what we're going to call it. So this is another field that should match password. So the param is going to be saving that, so we can use that as a field to figure it out. Now, sometimes the field may not even exist. So what we're going to do is do this and then match that emptiness like so. Okay. Great. So I'm going to put this inside some brackets so that if it does not exist, we have an empty string to deal with. At least we're not matching a null. So there we go. So value should match. And then we add that field name. Where is that? You see first field. No. Let's do UC first. Param. Yes. Whatever the parameter is. In this case, it's password verify. So it should read something like password should match password verify. All right. So far so good. Validate date. That's okay. I want to copy value here and clean this up as well. String to len, that one, value. And then this one as well, string length, value. And what else? This one as well. Let's do value. And where else? This field. And there's a second one there, value. All right, same thing here, and value. Much less code that way. All right, guys, so these are the matchings we have so far. At least we can match our date, match max, min, and then regex, and emails, and that. So there's also one where I think we should match not having a space, right? There shouldn't be a space in between the text, because sometimes you can tell somebody to log in as sorry, 1 second. Let me just load that home page. Okay, cannot redeclare validate match. Okay, so that's redeclared, is it? Oh yes, okay. So I duplicated that because I wanted to add one more. What would that be? Space. What will this be? Let me come back here. Oh, there's alpha. Ah, right. I almost forgot about that. There's alpha. Okay, so sometimes you want somebody to log in and there's the first name and last name, but then they put two names there. So for example, inside first name, they can put two names separated with a space. So sometimes you don't want a space in there. So we're going to check for that as well. Now this one is alpha. Then we can do alphanumeric. So let's use a regex here to check this using a preg match. So I'm going to do if preg match, and then we use a regular expression. So where it says alpha, we just want A up to Z, nothing more. So just normal alphabetical letters. So we're going to say A to Z, capitalized A to Z. So this should match the entire thing. So I'm going to put a caret here to say from the beginning, and then a $sign to say to the end, and then put a plus there to say at least one or more characters, and then this one is a value. So this one should say should only contain alpha letters. I think that makes more sense. So let's delete that. So this field should only contain letters, like so. All right, so that's for alpha. Then we can have alpha numeric, something like alpha underscore numeric. So this one should contain letters and numbers. Now in this situation, you may actually, if it's alpha, you may allow spaces as well. So I'm going to put a space in there just to allow spaces. Same here. But then with this one, it's alphanumeric. I'll allow numbers 0 to 9 as well. So this one is alphanumeric. Should only contain letters and numbers. But then there are times when you don't want spaces either. So in that situation, we're going to do space. No space, I think we'll say. Something like that. And then space is /s, like that. So from beginning to end, it should not. So here we are matching. So I'm going to put a not here because we only care if it doesn't match. And in this situation, I don't want beginning to end here. I just want to check for any spaces inside the text. So if there are any spaces there, one space or more, and then if that matches, which means we have spaces, and we shouldn't. Should not contain spaces. Okay, should not contain spaces. All right, guys. So that's this alphanumeric. I think that covers the basic stuff. So you can add whatever you want, extra stuff there. That's okay. So let's see what results this gives us. So we do an experiment. Let me go to, let me change the sign up view a little bit. All right. So let's go to the form here, and there is username, right? What I want to do with this is reduce the size. I'm going to say column. This is Bootstrap classes. These are classes in Bootstrap, M6, like that. So what I'm doing here is saying this column should be half, because Bootstrap has a grid system of 12 sections. So if you say 6, that means that's half. So if I check, this should essentially move this only to halfway. Let me not do that. Okay, so username didn't move to the half position, which is, are we using Bootstrap? Yes, we are. Okay, let me just try column 6 like that. Col 6. Let's see how that works. Okay, that actually worked. Great. Oh, I think it's M. You know, there should be M something here. Medium. LG. Wait, what am I missing? I'm forgetting my own Bootstrap here. This is crazy. Okay, is it MD or? Yeah, it's MD. My bad. So let's go. And there it is. So we have that. So instead of username here, we're going to have first name and last name. So I'm going to duplicate this and say first name and then a last name here. All right. So instead of username, of course, first, I'm going to use an underscore name. You can name these as you wish. That's up to you. Let me copy that to name here on the actual input and the label ID. So let me do the same here. Last underscore name. All right. So let's do some tests there. Come on. Okay. So there's first name and last name, but these guys are on separate lines. So let's tell it that this is one row. So I'm going to do that using a div like that, and then close that div, and then put a class in there and say row. So that's one row here. Let me refresh. It should be on the same line now. Okay, there it is. But it should be responsive as well, because I put that MD there. It means once it reaches medium size, it should actually stretch these guys to full page size. So let's see if that works. And at some point, you can see they are now one on top of the other, which is what I want when the screen is smaller. And then like that, at some point, it grows to full screen. They are on the same line. Okay, so first name and last name. So let's try some of this stuff in first name and last name. Let's go to the sign up page. So there's no more username. So this one is first underscore name. Minimum is 3, max is 30, and this is just alpha. And then at the same time, I want to add no space. So I'm going to do that, no underscore space, like so, and save that. So I'm going to duplicate this to the last name as well. So let's do that. Hello? Okay. Last name. All right, great. So let's test this out. Now, if I submit here, okay, so there we go. These are the errors we have. First name is required. First name must be at least 3 characters long. First name should only contain letters. And yeah, now email is coming in twice, which is crazy. So let's see that. Required email. Why is this twice? I wonder. Validate email. What is this? Did I put it twice? No, I did not. Okay, this is the only thing with a return. So maybe let me remove that return. Let's see what we get. All right, so refresh, resend. Email is not valid. Okay. But why email is required twice? That's I can remove that, I guess. Okay, so Oh, I see. I see what's happening. These email is required here and then required here as well. So we don't need this actually. So sorry about that. We don't need that part. So what else here? Okay, cool. So let's try again. Refresh. Okay, so we get all the errors that we need. Now let's try alphanumeric here. In the first name, let's say John Tembo. Now here, somebody is not supposed to put spaces in there, so that should generate a different error as well. So let's try that. Okay, so it says first name should not contain spaces. Okay, so that's great, right? First name. Now this is what I was talking about. So if we go and zoom in a little bit, there's this problem here. Now because first name is written like this is not what we want the user to see. First underscore name. They may get confused by our naming inputs. So I think we should improve this. First of all, to accommodate different types of errors, custom errors that is, and then also accommodate new or different names to what's in the input there. All right, guys. So I will see you